Sensory organ eye. Human eye is a sensory organ which reacts to light and pressure. The eye is located in the sockets of skull and they are called as orbits. Each eye is surrounded by four rectus muscles as well as two oblique muscles. The four rectus muscles are the superior one as well as the inferior one and the extrinsic or external as well as the internal muscles. Whereas the two oblique muscles are the superior oblique muscle and the inferior oblique muscles. They are responsible for holding of eye. Now coming to these extrinsic muscles, they are attached to the Celera part of the eye and they help in movement of eye in all the directions. And if you look the intrinsic muscles, they are present inside the eye and they are responsible for holding of the lens on either side and their size is being adjusted accordingly at the distance of the object. Coming to the structure of eye, the eye consists of the outer fibrous layer, middle vascular layer as well as the inner nervous tissue or retina. So when we see in the diagram here, this is the first structure, that is the outermost layer of the eye. So this forms the outer fibrous layer. This posterior part is called as Celera, whereas the anterior part of the fibrous layer is called as cornea. So the posterior part is the Celera and the anterior part is called as cornea. And now coming to the second picture, here we can see the fibrous layer. Along with that we can also see the middle vascular layer. This posterior part of the second layer, the middle layer which is present towards the posterior side is called as the choroid and this ends towards the anterior end in the form of a ciliary body. And here it is having the pigmented sheet called as iris. And now coming to the third layer, that is inner nervous tissue, that is retina. Okay, so this is the innermost layer or the nervous tissue which is called as retina. And this retina consists of photosensitive cells, that is the rods and cone cells. Coming to the first outer fibrous layer, the outer fibrous layer includes the celera as well as the cornea. Now let us go into the discussion of celera and cornea. Now if you see the eye from outside, the white color thing which we see outside, which we can visualize, this white part of eye is called as celera. It is a tough white skin made up of a tissue and that covers the eyeball except the cornea region. Okay, and this white part of the eye is called as celera. It supports the eyeball and it provides attachment for the muscles. Now you can see here the celera is being attached by the superior oblique muscle, superior rectus muscles as well as lateral rectus muscles, medial rectus muscles as well as inferior oblique muscles. They are being attached to the outermost part of the eye and they are responsible for movement of eye in all the directions. The function of the celera is it supports the eyeball and provides the attachment for muscles. And this layer is made up of dense connective tissue which is having mostly collagen fibers and fibroblast. Cornea is a transparent avascular coat that covers the colored iris. Here you can see it clearly. This is the transparent avascular coat which is giving the covering to the iris part. And this cornea is again covered by a thin layer called as conjunctiva. The outer layer of the cornea is made up of non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. whereas the inner surface of cornea is made up of simple squamous epithelium. The function of this cornea is it allows the passage of light into the eye and it acts as a fixed lens. Okay, that is the function of cornea. And now going into the middle layer of the eye, that is which consists of the choroid as well as the ciliary body and iris. Coming to the choroid, it lines the posterior surface. Okay, and here the anterior part, it is being ended in the form of a ciliary body. And now this choroid is the posterior in the inner surface of Celera, and it is very rich in blood vessels, whereas the first layer, that is the fibrous coat, is avascular, but the choroid is having the high supply of blood vessels. It is a highly vascular, okay, and it is chocolate brown in color, and this is present towards the posterior part. It also consists of melanocytes that produce a pigment melanin, which causes this layer to appear in dark brown in color. Okay, the choroid prevents internally reflected light within the eye. And now if you see in certain organisms, the mirror-like layer called as a tapetum lucidum is present in the choroid. Okay, so this tapetum is being present in the choroid and it is responsible for the glowing of eyes in certain carnivores. Okay, like the cat, when there is a light illumination, there is light, their eyes will be usually glowing. And that is due to the presence of this tapetum in the choroid region. The choroid layer is thin over the posterior two-thirds of the eyeball, but it becomes thick in the anterior part to form the ciliary body. Now coming to the anterior part of this vascular tunic, that is the ciliary body. We have discussed that towards the posterior part, the choroid layer is thin and that is being thickened when coming to the anterior region. Towards the anterior region, that thickened part is called as ciliary body. And this consists of the ciliary processes as well as the ciliary muscles. And it also consisting of extending suspensory ligaments, and that helps in attachment of lens. And this ciliary muscle is a circular band of smooth muscles. And this ciliary body gives the accommodation to the eye. Now coming to the last part, that is the middle layer, that is the iris. The colored pigmented circle of the eye is called as iris. It is present in between the cornea and lens. Now if you see the structure of this iris, this colored part which is surrounding the colored part of the eye, okay, this colored part of the eye is called as iris. Okay, and this controls the amount of light entering into the eye. It is present in between the cornea as well as the lens. At the center of the iris, it consists of a small hole which is called as pupil. The iris contains a circular and radial smooth muscle fibers, and this regulates the amount of light entering into the eye. The function of this iris is it is controlled by the parasympathetic stimulation constricts the pupil and sympathetic stimulation dilates the pupil. Okay, so thereby it controls the amount of light entering into the eye with the help of the information from the two types of nerves, that is the parasympathetic and sympathetic nerves. Now coming to this pupil, it is the black hole which is present in the iris. Okay, so this black hole we can call it as the pupil. Pupil size is controlled by the iris muscle. Okay, that is controlled by the two types of nerves, parasympathetic and sympathetic nerves. So the function of pupil is it is the hole where the light enters into the eye. Okay, so this region we can call it as the pupil, and this is being adjusted by the muscles of iris. Now here you can see the pupil is dilated, the size of the pupil is increased, and here you can see the size of the pupil is decreased. When the eye needs less light to enter, when it is very bright, the pupils usually get smaller, allowing less light to enter the eye. But when the eye needs more light to enter it when it is dark, the pupils usually gets larger, allowing more light to enter the eye. So this dilation and constriction of pupil are under the control of iris muscles. That is the circular and radial smooth muscles. Now coming to the next, that is the lens. The suspensory ligaments are holding up the lens and they are present behind the pupil. Lens is a highly elastic and circular biconvex body lying immediately behind the pupil and allows us to see the object near and far. So here the pupil allow the light to pass and that is being received by the lens, which are being attached by the suspensory ligaments of the ciliary body. Coming to innermost layer of eye, it is retina. It is the internal membrane and it consists of light receptive cells or photosensitive cells, rods and cones, and they help in conversion of light to electrical signals. Now the retina, the neuronal tissue, it also consists of the optic part and iridial part. The optic part of the retina is being confined to 3 by 4th part of the eye and this is present towards the posterior side. And this optic part of the retina consists of the pigmented layer as well as neuronal layer. Now here this is the innermost layer of the retina and here this retina consists of the two layers, that is the pigmented layer as well as the neuronal layer. And the pigmented layer is being continued towards the anterior part up to the ciliary body, whereas the neuronal layer is being terminated before the ciliary body. And this part of the neuronal layer of the eye is called as ora serrata. So the pigment epithelium of the retina is being continued up to the ciliary body, but the neuronal layer is being terminated before the ciliary body, and that is called as ora serrata. And now coming to the neuronal layer. The neuronal layer consists of the three cells, that is the inner ganglionic cells, middle bipolar cells and outermost photoreceptor cells. The outermost photoreceptor cells are nothing but the rod cells as well as the cone cell. The importance of these cells are the mostly dispersed cells are the cones and this function in the less intense light or in dim light, and this is used in peripheral vision or night vision. It just detects black and white or shades of green. And now coming to the cone cells, they are responsible for detecting of colors and they are highest concentration at the region called as a fovea centralis, and this functions best in bright light and it perceives the fine details of all the colors. And there are three types of cone cells, each sensitive to one of the three primary additive colors, that is the red, green as well as the blue colored ones. Okay, now that may be the erythropsin, that is the red, chloropsin green, synopsin is the blue. These are the three types of sensitive cones which are being present in the eye, and they help in distinguishing of all the different types of colors. Now, the region of the cones which are responsible for the perception of all the colors is nothing but the fovea centralis. It is the pit which is present in the macula lutea. So here it contains no rod cell and it have a high dispersion of cones. And these cones are associated with the color vision and perception of fine detail of all the colors. No blood vessels to interfere with the vision are present in this region and provides a sharp detailed vision needed during regarding or driving, etc. So this region is called as a fovea region, which is responsible for keen vision from the eye. And now coming to the blind spot. This is the optic disc. The optic nerves converge and exit the eye at this blind spot. No light sensitive cells are there to detect light rays, and this results in the break in visual field, and so we are calling it as the blind spot. No light enters at this region, and this is the place where the optic nerves are being passed through this blind spot. So this is the blind spot here. Okay, and from this there are the optic nerve as well as the blood vessels which are being running into this optic disc. So here this is the clear visualization of fovea lutea, which is having high dispersion of the cones and responsible for keen vision. And this is the blind spot where there is a passage of the optic nerve as well as all the blood vessels, that is the artery and vein, are being passing through the eye. Now optic nerve, here you can see this is the blind spot we have said, and at this region there is no passage of light, and here there it receives the optic nerve which is being embedded into the eye, and they help in transmitting electrical impulses from retina to brain, and there it creates a blind spot. Brain takes the inverted image and flips it so we can see. Okay, so here this is the eye, and here it is connected by innervated with the optic nerve, and this is carrying the impulse, the electrical impulse, and this is being received by the visual cortex, and the inverted image is being formed. Okay, so that it is being flipped and visualized onto the eye. If you like the video, share and subscribe. This is Pravalika signing off.